joining for another episode of the Magickal Effect. Full house tonight. Today, wherever you're at. So, Jared, Amy, Jenny,
and Dr. Giggles.
This guy.
Sparkle bears.
Yeah, they're picking on me because my beard is all sparkly today in the sunshine.
It's just a little Twilight.
Oh, yeah, they have that. Lisa, Alex, Raven, the rest of you bring up one thing about Twilight.
Hashtag Twilight. Get it trending. Love you.
So I can't help it. If you notice with the southern accent, I had to refrain from going Jen A, here. So.
My cousin does it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Life is like a box of chocolates.
So, we're all gathered here, which almost sounds like we're going for a funeral. For some of us, it dresses like it.
The one time I don't wear black.
So, you're actually looking at the participants of September's portal opening, the ritual that we're going to be doing in September. And so, I wanted everybody to get on here and kind of roundtable your thoughts on this. There's a lot of people curious about this ritual. So, let's start with you. What's your overall thoughts on this? What do you expect?
I'm really just kind of curious to be a part of it because I've never been part of a portal ritual, so I'm just kind of opening myself up to the experience, and I think it will be interesting, and yeah, just kind of looking forward to something new. Yeah.
I agree with Jen. I've never been in a portal opening ritual before, so I think it's exciting. I think it's exciting that we're measuring the energy as well, so I'm curious about how that's going to play out. Also, knowledge and fun. Have a good time while we're learning and testing the waters.
Yes, indeed.
Well, I'm also a portal virgin. Portal opening virgin. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the same thing actually. Just kind of being in a group, working with other people again, kind of getting to know some more members of the community and whatnot, and seeing what the result's going to be like.
Yeah, to me, I think it's important for us to measure it so other practitioners can benefit from it. We release that, and maybe we can, as a collective, to build on it. But as far as a paranormal episode, because this is also going to be on past, as far as we know, this has never been done before. I'm going to be very disappointed if we don't get anything. But to be quite honest with you, if we don't get any measurements, nothing whatsoever, maybe we need to reevaluate how we're testing. So, because as practitioners, we know what we do works.
Yeah.
We
and
wouldn't be doing it otherwise.
Right.
Yeah, energy you can always feel in a way, right?
Yeah, and the other part of it is we've seen the results, we know the results. It just would be amazing to be able to measure that, to actually get some type of, it's not validation, because once again, we know it works.
Right. But what kind of readings are you hoping the most for? Like,
well, ideally, we want to get spikes in the electromagnetic field there. That's why we took a baseline reading while we was there, so we knew kind of what the natural energy field was there. So if we get spikes in that, or we get visual anomalies, we call them camera, EVPs, how many times you've done ritual, you think you hear that whisper, or you hear that voice, is it coming from inside or outside? I mean, that's the validation is, it'd be great to find out these things are actually coming outside. So
sort of scientifically quantifiable.
Right. Yeah. There's been cases where time seems to be different. Even though traditionally, just for most of you don't know, traditionally watches are not generally allowed, or electronic devices are generally not allowed in circles. But to measure time from an outside perspective, the rest of the team is going to be out there measuring and whatnot. So there'll be some equipment inside, but people-wise, everybody's going to stay outside the circle. So we're going to get electronically inside, physical person outside the circle. So, and it would be interesting to find out if there is actually that tiny difference, because that circle is our universe.
Right.
Yeah.
So, which leads me to another question. What's your personal beliefs on circles in general. I mean, we all know that everybody creates a circle going clockwise, counterclockwise, got to go east, south, west, north, or maybe you go east to west, north to south, or do you stand in a circle, dance around? You know, everybody seems to have their own individual beliefs on generating circles.
I think that, like, for me, it's even just sacred space at home, that kind of thing. If you cast a circle, it's a way to prepare you for a ritual, in order to get your head in that mind space, right? It's kind of like how you start anything, like, I don't know, cooking supper. Like, you always start with onions, right? You know, onions go first and everything. And that's how you start ritual. You create your space, right? And some people go even further than that. Like, they'll have the ritual bath, cleansing and everything like that, incense. That's how you start. But for me, that's where it's beginning, you know, like the start of it, of everything. It's that circle.
What about you?
Yeah, I see it as sort of that kind of beginning space, and also just the energy barrier that you can put yourself in to feel safe to do the work that you need to do. And I personally will call quarters if I'm wanting to do a big circle. That just feels more right to me, just because I like to bring in that sort of outside focus. But yeah, it's kind of a way to trigger the mindset and bring a focus to the energy that you want to work with.
Okay.
For me, it depends on the ritual. If I'm in a group setting, yes, I believe that we should use the circle just to contain the energy and as well keep the mundane world out, sort of say. But I will do ritual without casting a circle, or I will just lie in bed and call the quarters, whatever needs to be done. So I don't want to be constrained from working magic because it's not the right moon phase, or you have to have quartz crystals in a circle. I was trained in a traditional setting, and it's all great. I'm not. Oh, hello, little guy.
Oh, we got a spider friend.
Yes, sorry. It's fine. So I didn't call him over, but sometimes I have that effect on him.
Well, I was making fun of him like earlier, so he
Yes,
probably
yes,
come over
coming
for
after
revenge.
No, he's gonna bite me, not you.
The only arachnophobic.
Yes.
Right?
So, sorry, we got off topic there. So, yeah, whatever feels right for you. If a circle gets you in the right frame of mind, go for it. If you don't want to do a circle or it doesn't feel right to you, then don't do it. It's what you feel, what works for you at any given time.
See, I'm a person, and this is my personal belief. I believe that as practitioners, we always have circles generated at all times. So I agree when we're in a group setting, maybe, you know, the quarters and, you know, generating the circle. But also at the same time, every piece of this conversation I agree with. You know, you need that sacred space sometimes, that protection. We're really concerned about the spider on the floor. I am personally. So,
Got you off topic.
You're not
But
sorry.
You're right, because your aura is a circle.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we are a generation always of circle, an energy field. So if I'm doing like individual work, it's like, okay, this ritual coming up in September, technically it has already started. Just with our discussions, a roundtable discussion that we had earlier, technically this ritual has already begun.
Yeah. The planning, the
Well,
intent.
we're putting our energy into
Yeah.
it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, we haven't cast a first circle, but yet this ritual has already technically begun.
Mhm.
So, you know, with the tools that we're using and everything else, the planning, the thought process, we're already putting energy into it. So it's kind of like when you make a talisman. You do your research, look it up, and you come up with your idea, you sketch it out, technically it's already made. You know.
So do you think that because of this build up to it, the amount of time you're preparing, does that add more, for lack of a better word, energy or power to the ritual than, say, like a really impromptu one?
Yes, I think it does. An impromptu one, don't get me wrong, an impromptu one are usually done out of an emotion, which is an amazing way to
Right.
add energy. In this case, the old ones that we used to do, we started on May 5th for October 31st. So that's a long time to prepare. And
A lot of energy buildup.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think we talked about it even
Yeah.
before that, but only in passing.
Right, yes. So in this case, we're picking this date mostly because of convenience of filming and the location and whatnot. But yes, going forward, and this won't be a one-off. We're going to be doing this ritual, and then maybe next year we can do it again, same location, hint, hint, nudge, nudge. But and change it up a little bit so we'll have a basic foundation. So that's a shout out to Jim with the suggestion. When we was at a Culticon. Good idea. But this year we're going to keep it pretty basic, simple, and set a foundation and the groundwork to go forward. So, any other thoughts on this? Or?
Really, just really kind of pumped for it, kind of excited
I'm
for it.
excited.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like even talking about it, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh,
Just to
let's
see what
do
happens.
this.
Yeah.
Well, since it's been so long for me, of course I'm excited. This is like.
But I think you've planted the seed long before you started talking to us about it, so there's even more energy.
It's been germinating for a long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, that I want to say because I do miss it, and it's great also to connect with other like minds.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
so that's because you learn from each other even throughout the whole process. So that's the greatest part.
That's where the knowledge comes in.
Yeah.
And especially if if you're not really in a large community, it is nice, especially if you're kind of isolated, just to be around people that think the same way you do or similarly.
The Saskatchewan pagan scene is quite small.
It is.
Yes.
It is quite small.
I just had a revelation, and you're talking about this has been in the works for a while. Well, Madutu, and you keep saying this ritual and these interactions are to build on knowledge. Well, that's what Madutu means in Sumerian, is knowledge. So maybe I have been working on this in the background. I just don't realize it.
There's no coincidence.
Yeah, no, that's true.
That's true.
I mentioned a while back about in our discussions about a lady that donated the property. She passed away, and actually put my first ceremonial robes on her casket and fell her to the ground. It was actually interesting when we met as Corey's aunt and uncle that owns the property. Well, when I met the aunt, she looks identical to the priestess that donated this to the original property. And I honestly could not quit staring, saying, height, build, facial expressions, sense of humor. It was like I just stepped back in time. And it's literally going full circle.
Yeah.
So, it's,
That's sort of discussion that maybe we have done this same time,
Yeah.
all at the same time, right?
yeah. I honestly, the more I thought about, what you were talking about, and I showed you one of the drawings in one of the grimoires, how we theorized that we were bending space and time with
Yeah.
this more than just actually
Yes.
doing it. Yeah, well, we may be just doing the same ritual over and over, just
Yeah.
at different times.
Because time is not linear, right? Like it's all happening all at the same time.
And it's
beginning and
also a
end.
measurement, by the measurement standards, it's dictated by the physical universe.
Right.
And as we all know, we don't deal with the physical universe. We have to put up with it.
Wow.
We don't deal with it.
Well, until it can leave this physical form,
Mhm.
it'll have to do.
Do what we have to do.
So while we got all of us here, and we are, and I've mentioned it before in a shout out, and I don't take up too much time. We've always done a shout out to the broom closet, and every one of us here are frequent flyers at the broom closet. We park our brooms right next to the door.
Hi, Donna.
And tell me about the broom closet from each one of your own individual perspective.
It's like home.
Yeah.
Like Donna is awesome. You walk in there, she has a beautiful smile. Her energy is so welcoming. Her hugs are divine,
Mhm.
right? You could be having the worst possible day, and you walk in there, and they just melt away.
Yeah. Just like grandma.
Exactly.
Mhm.
My kids go
Yeah.
there and love her.
Yeah.
Right.
The energy there is extremely welcoming.
Yeah.
And she is genuinely one of the nicest people. Like you look at storefronts and things like that, and the benefit she has is being a practitioner as long as she has.
Yeah, her
The knowledge
knowledge.
is great.
Oh.
Right?
And she's willing to help anybody.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a very warm, welcoming environment, and she's always willing to help out in any way she can, lend her knowledge whenever she can. So
Yeah, sometimes her mom pops in for a visit.
yep.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's, to me, when I went to a cultural con, there was a lot of people that were there that I can honestly say I found relatives that, you know, and we know the difference between the physical relatives,
Right.
the blood relatives, and the ones that we feel akin to.
Yeah. We call
And-
them chosen family.
Yeah,
I
Right.
think.
exactly.
Yeah.
And the first time I walked in there, I honestly felt that way. And that was January, or gosh, it was December of 2014. And walked in the door, and immediately I felt like I was at home.
Yeah, that
And,
is.
you know,
Yeah.
so, and that was coming from Georgia. So thank you for watching another episode of the Magickal Effect. And until next time, we'll keep you updated on the ritual to come.
Hashtag Twilight.
Oh.
Hashtag Twilight.
Twilight
Trending.
year. Twilight year.